are talking about Jamie Dimon. So the JPMorgan CEO said he's a major skeptic of crypto tokens like Bitcoin and called them a decentralized Ponzi scheme. This was all in the congressional testimony. He added that the notion it's good for anybody is unbelievable, citing the use of crypto in ransomware attacks, sex trafficking, and money laundering. I do want to add that he said a properly regulated stablecoin wouldn't be a problem. And he said that he sees value in DeFi, blockchain, and tokens that do something, which seems very contradictory that all of these statements came out in the same hearing. But Adam, I'll pass it off to you. What did you think when you read all of these tidbits that came out of that testimony this morning?
Yeah, I mean, Jamie Dimon is a person who knows which side his bread is buttered on, right? Like, when you're talking about, like, the current financial system, you're talking about a system that's dominated by both political and well-moneyed interests. And Jamie Dimon really represents a sort of point of power in both of those worlds. So this is a lot like, you know, the U.S. government saying, hey, we would rather not have any sort of alternative for you to use our currency. It would be better for everyone if you just do the thing that we want. Is that really better for people? Have they really done a good job? I don't think so. Also, the characterization of it as a Ponzi scheme is a little bit problematic too. We know what Ponzi schemes are. Somebody has to be extracting money on the other side, and that is not really what's happening. There's a free market here. Now, what you could say is that it's a confidence game, and that's true about money generally. Money is, in fact, a confidence game in sort of the modern era. We all use it because we think it's going to be valuable in the future, and to the extent that we don't think it's going to be valuable in the future, we don't want to hold it. So again, like, this characterization of it is something that's very beneficial to him, done in a venue where if he said anything else, can you imagine what the response would have been? It would have been, again, like, it's just all of the incentives align here for him to be the enemy until it's something that he can't avoid, at which point he'll probably change his tune a little bit to avoid becoming obsolete. But it's not a surprising take, I think. Will, what do you think?
I love the story, and this is what matters during the bear market, to understand these stories. These congressional hearings are really important. These smaller stories are really important because these things are what's going to matter in a few years when we're looking again at another bull cycle. So right now, I think is the time for people to lock in. So just gonna get that off my chest to start off. Second, Jamie Dimon is so well known for this sort of thing, right? He flips in and out of his own points, deciding one day to be pro-Bitcoin, to be launching an entire fund for this product, launching JPMorgan coin, launching a bunch of blockchain technology, gadgets and gizmos, we don't even know what they are, and the next day going to Congress and saying that a bunch of these things are Ponzi schemes, and he thinks nobody should touch them. So Adam, I think your comment is right on point, right? Every time we hear him talk about this, it's snake oil-esque, right? Because he's only going to say, hey, this is good for people who are going to give him money, and he's going to say this is bad to people who are looking at his larger firm and are concerned about the role he plays within the larger economy. So he's totally spot on. He knows which side his bread is buttered on, and it's not shocking to see these comments at all. I will note that, like, only 6 months ago or so, he did talk about, or they were building a fund for Bitcoin and other assets, crypto assets, for their clients. And it's like, why are you changing your tune when it goes to Capitol Hill? And again, I think it's a money game. Jen, I'm going to throw it back to you, get your take.
I think it's interesting. You can just listen to Jamie Dimon and almost get every side of the story depending on the day or his mood. I thought it was interesting that he cited the use of ransomware attacks, crypto and ransomware attacks, sex trafficking, and money laundering. I know we keep coming back to this, and I just think it's so important to say that these things would exist without crypto. There are other ways for criminals to transfer money between each other, and it's just so disappointing when I hear this narrative again and again, and I know that it's disappointing to the two of you too, because we've spoken about it on the show before. I just wonder what Jamie Dimon is gonna say next. Will, I think I saw your hand up, and then Adam, so I'll kick it off to you.
Yeah, the one thing I want to bring up is he is like pro stablecoin, right? And so that's a little questionable because stablecoins have really come onto the scene. A lot of people thought they were stupid. They were like, why not just use a bank or like a wire or something like that? And stablecoins have proven to be a better product for the market. You can send any amount of money anywhere in the world instantaneously for a very low fee with a very simple user experience. So it's much better than sending a wire. If anyone's done that before, that's awful. But a lot of these bankers are now getting into the process of starting to trust that stablecoins are a thing. And I think it's because we see regulation around it being a little bit more clear. We've seen USDC, that token has really done well, Paxos, things like that. They are more regulated, or at least not being stomped on by the SEC or any other regulators out there. And so I think bankers are coming around to it. And that is why Jamie Dimon perhaps is also interested in it and will give it a little bit more credence than he would have a few years ago, even though this technology was around. Tether was around 3-4 years ago, right? It still had a very large market cap. To me, it seems like whenever we have these big bankers in the headlines, it's the only time they'll give a head nod to a product is if they are safe, like from a regulation standpoint. Adam, to you though.
Yeah, so a quick note there on your comment, Will. So I have some history with Tether. I was involved with the original specification of the project back in the spring of 2014. And one of the important things to consider here in terms of why would Jamie Dimon be interested in this is because of how these projects make their money. They make their money by taking in something like a US dollar and then holding that as a reserve on which they do not pay anybody else interest, but they collect interest on it by making investments into relatively low yield things, but with huge dollar numbers behind them, billions and billions of dollars. So if you think about how banking works today compared to how it worked historically, it used to be that you would put your money into a bank, the bank would pay you a reasonable rate of interest, and if you had, $1 million in the bank, hey, you could probably live off of the interest that you would get off of that, a relatively, modest existence, but one where you wouldn't really have to work and your money is working for you. In the modern era, where the Fed has pushed interest rates down in order to support a variety of things that we won't get into here, that really isn't the case anymore. And I look at my bank balance, and I bank with Chase, and they don't pay a lot of money. Like, they don't pay any money. And even as interest rates are going up, they still aren't paying any money. So if you think about it, stablecoins are almost the perfect thing for modern banks. They get to hold your money. You get to use a digital version of it that maybe is more useful to you or maybe isn't, depending on kind of what the controls are. And they collect all of the interest on investing the reserves without ever worrying about paying you any money. So again, it's even better than the current equilibrium they have. Now, to the final point, why would Jamie Dimon be talking about this now? Well, because as you said, regulation is coming in. And what regulation will probably look like in the United States as this gets standardized is you have to be a bank to issue one of these things. And not just any bank, but a big bank. So it's big business for big banks. And again, when you're talking about Jamie Dimon and JPMorgan, this is, I think, par for the course. It's dishonest, but it's par for the course.
Totally. I have to wonder what those wealth management clients are thinking when they hear Jamie Dimon make statements like this. I would think that it's maybe bad for business, but also I would think that if you're a wealth management client and you're involved in investing in any of these cryptos, you've probably done your own research. So I don't know that it's really affecting any business on their side. Sorry for interrupting you, Will. I'll hand it back to you for final thoughts.
No, I think you kind of nailed it right there. Right? I think a lot of people are wondering how to think about these things still, and most people would probably agree with Jamie Dimon who are within banking circles. We see that a lot of people sort of flock together. Adam, I'll give it to you, but let's move next to the next topic after that.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, I just can't shut up about this topic. Proximity to power, Jen, is the reason why they want to work with somebody like Jamie Dimon. We don't live in a system, our financial system is not really a capitalist system. It's a cronyist system that is effectively based on how close are you to the power that's issuing new money and how much of that money can you get. If you're someone like Jamie Dimon, the answer is a lot. And as a result of that, if you're, again, big money, who are you going to invest with? You're going to invest with the person who has the closest proximity to power. That explains almost everything about our world today.